What's up guys, and welcome back to the infamous project. It is another hot day down here in Texas and I'm just at the commercial shop trying to wrap up a couple things. So I've been busy. Shop dad and his son have been down here from Canada picking up parts, making a run back up north, and while I'm gonna catch a ride with them, and we're gonna be stopping in Detroit to check out the Woodward Dream Cruise. So I'm super excited about that, which means I gotta get some stuff organized and ready before leaving. So I know you guys know, when you got so much on the go, it's really hard to disconnect yourself and get ready to pull away, but I'm doing the best that I can. You can see I got a Godzilla here, all ready for shipping, and I'm gonna be dropping a video about Godzilla stuff, so make sure you guys check that out because there's a lot of good information there. I don't just have all these Godzillas for any old random reason. You guys have to check the video out so you can learn more and how, if you're interested in a Godzilla package, make sure you check out my website. If you guys are thinking about Godzilla swap for your old Ford pickup or for maybe a Foxbody, or shit, maybe you just want to throw one in an old square body Chevy, I'd love to see that. It's like no more LS swaps. Start Godzilla swapping everything. So let's get into what I'm trying to get done today. You can see I got a couple pieces painted black here. I'm just trying to get a little bit of interior dyeing wrapped up and out of the way because, well, if I get it done today, it's gonna be able to sit for pretty much a week while I'm away, and it'll give it a really good opportunity to cure up. And that way, when I go to install everything, I won't have to worry about nicks and scratches and all that other good stuff. So where we left off on this guy was pretty much the interior is here for the most part. We were getting the doors back together. I had to put a couple orders in to get some parts. I'm gonna go over some parts that I have here. Unfortunately, we're not gonna be really installing anything today, but I wanted to go over with you guys what I got going on, and then that way you know what to expect in some of the upcoming videos. So one of the most interesting pieces is this guy right here. And I want to give a big thanks to whoever it was that said to look this up. This is an electric power steering pump out of a Volvo S40. And it actually, there's two styles. This one has the reservoir up here with a hose, and then the other one's more of like a single contained unit, and there's a filler neck on the top. So I found this guy off eBay. The wiring is on here. Some of the fittings and connectors and the brackets and everything. The only thing that was missing is the actual cap for this. But why is this important? Well, let's take a look over here. So if you guys remember, I was saying how this car, it needs to have AC. Life is just too hot in the summer these days. We need some luxury, especially when we got a street car. And well, if we look down here, our power steering pump is where the AC compressor should be, or used to be, and our alternator is down here where the power steering pump would normally live. And while the alternator used to live probably right around here, and well, it can't because of the turbo setup. So I'll be able to put the original AC compressor and bolt that on down there, and we'll get some custom lines done. I feel like I'm gonna be able to sandwich a condenser in between the radiator and the intercooler. This radiator actually needs to move out just a touch over here. We can see it's on an angle, and hopefully I'll be able to get some AC in this car. Now the question is, I gotta find a home to mount that electric power steering pump. So I'm really hoping I can tuck it up in an inner fender somewhere. Like, how cool would it be if I could open the lid to the reservoir here, or maybe somehow get it over here, I don't know. I'm gonna have to play around with it, see what I can come up with, but that's the plan in terms of the power steering. I really hope that it works out. So again, I know a couple guys have run these pumps. I actually did a little bit more research. I know drift guys, sometimes they actually run them in the trunks of their cars and just less things in the engine bay ultimately. So I'm really hoping that that works out. And another cool upgrade, and I know that this topic has been beat to death, but I'm gonna be going through it with you guys on this car because, well, you can't have 19-inch wheels and have small brakes. Now, mind you, it's got the SN95 spindles and newer brake setup on there, but really need a nice big rotor. If you guys haven't seen sitting on the table here, yep, I got them, the Cadillac Brembos. And I started doing some research because I saw a lot of videos out there. I think, you know, Demon Fox have done it, House of Dula. There's a lot of guys that have done these swaps, but there was another one. I need to find his video because I was actually quite impressed. He has a New Edge Mustang, I believe, and he actually considered the brake bias. And what the brake bias is how much braking power you have in the front versus how much braking power you have in the rear. So he actually determined that if you run those Brembos up front from the Cadillac ATS, that you can actually go get Ford Taurus rear calipers. They'll bolt right onto the brackets as your rear brakes would, and the piston size in the rear is 42 millimeter versus the normal 38, and that gives you a 70-30 split between the front and rear of your braking. So we'll most likely go down that road. This will be on a video, and then I'll show you guys the braided lines. We got the Evolution brake pads here, and I gotta say, oh, even the Brembo stickers. The one thing about this kit, these calipers are only $130, brand new. Like, these are off Amazon, brand new. Stickers are on them, everything. Like, how can you beat 130 bucks? Brake pads were like 50, brake lines were 70, and the most important part of the whole swap is this right here, these little inserts. So these inserts, you can see how the threads are offset. Well, we're gonna have to press out these inserts here, and then we're gonna press these guys in, and this is gonna allow us to bolt straight up to our factory SN95 spindles. And then that way we don't have to drill anything, we don't have to hone anything out. And then we actually get a set of little spacers that go behind the rotors on the hub to make sure that the pads are gonna be situated properly in between the rotor. Speaking of which, I still need to buy a set of rotors for this. So that's where we're at with the braking. If you guys are curious, this is SNS Industries, I believe. SNS Engineering, my bad. So from SNS Engineering. So that's gonna be the braking upgrade that we're gonna do. You can see I got some black sun visors here, a lot of interior stuff, some sound deadening that goes behind the door panels. I've actually got somewhere here, oh yeah, the vapor barrier replacement. So this is gonna go, once we make sure that everything is good behind the doors here, we'll put the original style vapor barrier on there. I got some kill mat coming. I'm gonna do a little bit of kill mat, and then we'll be installing speakers. You know, nothing too crazy with the stereo system, but we'll get all the speakers upgraded and something that'll sound good. New door panel, speaker grills. We got rear seat belts for the back in black. So opted to put a rear seat in the car. The car was gonna go rear seat delete. Now we're putting a rear seat in, and that's gonna be a Corbeau cloth seat that's gonna match brand new Corbeau fronts. So I do actually have a little bit of footage of that. Maybe I'll insert that into the video here so you guys can see me putting some of the Corbeaus together. Man, they're gonna look good in this car. I'm really excited for that. Wish there were Recaros, but Corbeaus will do. You know, brand new steering column cover. We got window switch bezels, got the little plugs to go in the armrests, and then opted to get all brand new window switches here. And I'll give you guys my feedback once this is all installed so we can see how everything looks. But it's just gonna make the interior look so nice and fresh by having brand new switches and bezels and everything else in there. And then I got some new armrest pads for the armrests, which are sitting over here. I'm gonna get these painted up. Today, I'm probably gonna paint those pads just to make sure that all the smoke gray is consistent. So now that all this black is pretty much dried, I'll pull this off here. We'll get the armrests on. I actually gotta paint the top parts of the door panels black, so I'll get that all sorted. And that's kind of it. Moving on to some gray parts here. These are brand new door speaker covers. So the grills that go on your door panels there, this clip always breaks and people put a screw through it or it's flopping off your door panel. And even though that these are brand new, fresh out of the plastic, I still paint them or dye them, whatever you want to say. And the reason that I do that is simply because, well, they're aftermarket. And even though that the color is pretty much bang on, I don't want them to be victim of UV or heat or anything like that. So at this stage, I figure, you know, we're in this deep, why don't we just give them a light coat of the Presidio gray. We know everything will match that way, and it'll get a protective coating. And ultimately, we know it's going to match. And the nice thing is that even if there is a scratch or a nick happens or something like that, it's not going to be the end of the world because, well, it's the right color underneath, right? It's not like when you take a red piece, you dye it black, and then you accidentally scratch the plastic and then you see red underneath it. This way, if you scratch it, it should be the same color. So I'm gonna go get my Presidio gray, we're gonna get these pieces painted up, and then let's see if there's enough time for those door panels to dry up, and if I can get the bottom half of those door panels. And by the way, if you guys saw the last video where I needed some help locating a door panel, I actually fixed that one. I'll show you guys how I did it here in a minute. Let me get this paint so we can get this dyed up. Let's go over to this door panel right here. So we'll just take this off. In fact, we should hold on to that. So I'm gonna go ahead and peel the tape off, see how we did. This is always so rewarding. You pull this off and you see how nice the tape line looks. I love it. All right, guys, so this is the door panel that had the slit in it. You can actually see that this spot right here is more of a Presidio gray. And well, the reason for that is I've been working that spot and restoring it. So what did I do? I actually took this tiny little screwdriver, I taped off, so if there was a hole, see how this hole is here? Let's pretend that this was the slit in the vinyl. So I put a little bit of tape on both sides of the slit, like that, and on that side, so that way the only thing that was exposed was the little tear. And then I took some gasket maker, some Permatex 1-minute gasket maker. I put it on this little screwdriver end and I slid it underneath like this, and then I slid it on the back side over here, and then I pushed it down. I put a piece of tape over it. I let that cure up, and then once it was done, I pulled the tape off, and then, you know, that made sure that no Permatex was going into the little pattern here, because if we did that, then we'd lose our pattern. So once that was done, then I hit it with some Presidio, and then Scotch padded it down a couple times, hit it with Presidio again, Scotch padded it a little bit more, and man, it looks like, unless I was pointing it out to you, you would know it was there. And once this door panel is all done, I'm confident that that is gonna be just fine. So anyways, I'm gonna go ahead now, I'm gonna mask off the black. And yes, I just painted these 15 minutes ago. I'm gonna go ahead and mask off that black because I am positive that I prepped these properly and I'm not gonna lift that dye. You have it, both door panels are reverse masked now, so we're ready to do our Presidio gray on there. So easy that was. I'd already scotched these down prior, so it was really just having to wipe them down and get them masked up. That way I didn't have to worry about potentially, you know, scuffing over on the fresh black. It's just easier to keep everything clean and scuffed up prior before doing all your masking stuff, so it just makes things a little bit easier when you go to spray. So now, third final coat on this stuff, we'll swap to the door panels and get those knocked out. Man, talk about efficiency, I'm getting this done real quick. Everything is sprayed up and ready for the unmasking. So the one important thing about when you do this, and if you're doing it this quick, and what I mean by this quick is when you just painted the black and within 30 minutes you're masking it off again, make sure you peel this off. Don't leave it on, because then you might get into a situation where you end up pulling your paint. So this is just painted fresh 5 minutes ago, if that. This paint dries extremely fast, guys. And again, I've done so many videos, SEM, color coat for vinyl and leather and fabric and everything else. So let's go ahead now and just to prove my point, all right? Check it out. You see any paint lifting? Any black on my masking? Peel this off. Look at that. Look at this panel. It is ready for the making. So we have the panel done in Presidio. We got the door speaker grills. We got the armrest pads. We did the little chrome pieces that go in between the armrests. I did those in black, something a little different. And then I do have brand new smoke gray. That's right, you can actually get smoke gray leather map pockets. So if you want the newer look, I know a lot of people hate these things. I personally like them. I think they just make your interior look a little bit more modern, but you can get smoke gray map bag pockets. So if you guys are interested, make sure to check those out. And again, let's peel this guy off. Get the outer layer done, and again, just proving the point, guys. You see any black paint lifting? Beautiful. So you can get your door panels done in record time, just like that. And here's the best part. I just showed you both these door panels. Don't know which one had the slit in it, do you? Was it this one? Or was it this one? So everything is fixed, everything is dyed. I'm just gonna get a little organized, clean my stuff up off the ground here, and the stuff will cure for the next week. And when we get back into the commercial shop here, we're gonna be on our way to getting the rest of this interior buttoned up and this amazing twin turbo notch. So now, after I'm done cleaning up, head back to the house and I'll show you guys the fresh Corbeaus that should be sitting there. Most importantly, the seat bracket adapters that I've been waiting on so I can get those bolted onto the stock seat tracks and be a pretty much plug and play application into the car. So we'll see you guys over at the house. So we're back at the shop. The other seat bracket is in, and I had to go back and do a double take because I thought these brackets were literally like $20, and come to realize they're actually $60, and that's to do one seat. So is there really value there? I'm gonna be honest with you guys. Like, it's cool that they fit and that they work and that they bolt on with ease, but these are literally two pieces of flat stock with some holes drilled in them. Like, I should really be like, actually, you know what? Maybe I'm gonna mark this out on a piece of cardboard so I have the template, and that way I can make my own next time. So kind of a waste of money, not really. You know, I gotta go get flat stock. I gotta make sure it's around, you know, these dimensions, or I gotta cut it, I gotta drill it, I gotta paint it. But is it worth $60 per seat? No way. If it was $60 to do 2 seats, it would be worth the money. But unfortunately, at $60 a seat, I'm sorry, LMR, or whoever else might sell these, too much money. So that's the story on that. I got some footage when I put the last seat together. I'll share that footage with you guys. And you know, it's pretty straightforward on how you bolt these on. right, so these seats feel great. I know they're gonna look great in contrast with the smoke gray. We got the fresh black carpet in there. We got the suede headliner, and everything should be good to go. We can do a little test here. All the way up, all the way back. So the seat tracks work good. As long as all the holes line up, which I'm sure they will, because as soon as you know that the springs and everything line up on the factory seat track mechanism underneath the seat, you know you're going to be in pretty good shape when you go to bolt it in the car. So that's my real only recommendation when you're doing this, is to clean up whatever seat tracks that you have, because I'm sure there's a little bit of corrosion and whatnot. A lot of the parts of the tracks are painted from factory, some are not, depending on how well they lubricated, and if they were in a car that had leaky seals, it can actually be pretty rusty. So sometimes you gotta sandblast them, and sometimes they're even a pain just to even get the bolts out of the floor, right? So clean up your seat tracks, get all the old grease and all that stuff off, paint them up. I really do like to use the factory tracks when I can. There's just something about them. I just like the way that they work and they feel. And I've actually had a couple challenges with the Corbeau tracks in terms of them bolting up, and sometimes just the sliding, it's almost like they bind and they won't slide as good as this one does. This one actually slides really nice now. A little bit of that lithium grease in there, so everything is good to go. There we have it. The seat frames are bolted on. Very straightforward. Those seat track adapters, well, I'll leave it up to you guys if you think they're a good deal or not. I think 60 bucks per seat is a little extreme for a couple pieces of flat stock, but it is what it is. So everything bolted up nice. Everything, I didn't have to hone holes. It all lined up. I saw some reviews that said that there was some issues with things lining up. Maybe people just didn't have them installed correctly. Who knows? But they're on. They look good. Cleaned, painted, lubricated. So everything is going to work great. Factory look and feel. Flat stock is just a little bit higher. So people could argue that it's going to make them sit up a little bit higher off of the floorboards. But again, I think with the way that the foam is on the ass part, you're going to be seated down in there nice. We'll see when we get them bolted in the car. Unfortunately, that's not going to happen this video. Instead, I got to wrap them up in plastic, and I'm off to Detroit. I'm going to Woodward, so that's going to be a fun time. When we get back, these seats will go in, the interior will go in, and that'll pretty much wrap up the whole inside for that twin turbo car. So there you guys have it. Hopefully you enjoyed the video. Thank you again for following along. We'll see you guys real soon here on the infamous project. So until then, stay tuned.